Hello everybody, and welcome to Lockdown Literature, courtesy of the Studio Online and the National Lottery Community Fund. You are about to listen to an audio story from a series of writing gathered during the COVID-19 lockdown from both the adults and children's write-on sessions. So relax, settle back and enjoy a selection of writing from some of the finest creative minds at the studio. Perfect by Richard Bradshaw.
Perfect. Just perfect. Let's keep it that way. Keep it that way implies some kind of intervention on our part. Good luck with that endeavour. I wish you success, but I doubt it. Let's leave it that way, the passive way, the way of hope, but equally flawed. Nothing will remain so, circumstance and all that. Change guaranteed. If all that passes through our minds deserves the name of thought, then half my thoughts are memories. No harm done, I suppose. A box full of experience to call upon if needed. Nostalgia now, that's a different pond altogether. You know how it goes, holiday snaps, photos of cocktails and so forth. Imagine carrying a crutch with you everywhere you went, even though you had no real need of it. That's nostalgia for you, and it can leave a bitter taste. Somebody once said that life can only be understood backwards, but must be lived forwards. Well, thanks for that. When you're unhappy, everything stands out as wrong or at least not quite right. When you're happy, all is flush and in place. Walk down any street, turn any corner, you're ready for anything. You don't even have to think about being ready because you already are. Imagine you're in a drought and see a cloud in the sky. You watch as it traverses the whole breadth of your view of the world without releasing one drop of rain. We may find ourselves whimpering in sadness for the passing of a cloud. Now that can't be right. Since I began to write this, I have been staving off the moment when I have to do what I set out to do, to try and recreate what was once a perfect moment. Wish me luck. We, by which I mean me and my erstwhile lover, were on a beach. We had slept there the night before, under the stars, and woken to a beautiful day. I could tell you about the stars, but this recreation business means I should stick to one set of circumstances and not digress as much as is my wont at most times. I have no photographs. Later you'll perhaps guess why. So that's a relief. We were suitably supplied with all we judged we needed to be able to sit still for a while, and had decided to do just that. It was a gorgeous place with the most ideal possibilities we could have imagined. Idyllic. I am here avoiding the word perfect, though perfect is what it was. I find I cannot forge the chain, so I will try to give you the links as best I can and see if we can accompany each other. We had spent the afternoon on the beach or in the shade of the trees that lined it, swimming in and out of the sea as the whim became wish. The crystal sea, so calm, warm and delightful. You could walk until you were shoulder deep in its embrace and still see the smooth sandy bottom, see it clearly enough to know that it continued even further with the same gentle slope, like it does on Corfu. The touch of the water on my skin was so familiar, it made me feel that I was a fish, akin to those that swam around my feet and brushed against me from time to ageless time. The salt grains that remained on our sun-dried bodies simply made us feel even more at home on the sand as we lay after each dip, talking, not talking. Food was suggested and we made it, sitting in the shade of the pine trees. The sea and the trees took turns bathing us in their scent. Waves from the forest would come to us, earth and bark and leaves and sap, and then recede, while the air of the sea advanced and fell upon us like the finest dewdrops, fresh and clear as a bird in song, until they, in their turn, receded. When we'd thought of food, we were peckish. As we took our first bites, we became ravenous as the exquisite taste flooded our tongue and sank joyful into our stomachs. Think jam on toast on a cold winter morning in a warm, already toasty house on a day when you have nothing to do but watch the rain on the window and cartoons or the racing on the television, if that is your idea of heaven. If not, take your pick. The cheese sandwich and salad we had made was worthy of some prestigious national culinary award, or at least a semi-final spot on Strictly Come Butty Making. It was thoroughly and marvellously delicious. By now, the long, long afternoon was slowly waning, winding down into the very first hints of a hint of a still distant twilight. The sea was fresher now, invigorating and welcoming as a true greeting of love and friendship. The sound of creatures, I know not which, wafted in and out of the sea forest like driftwood on a gently lapping shoreline. We opened the wine. I have no words, yet will speak them. It was, quite simply, superb, uplifting, splendid in every way, fresh and strong as a willing horse that would gallop or canter at the slightest command. I know, that's ridiculous. It was also wonderful. We drank in a celebration of life and our lives. My eyes sparkle at the memory. My smiling grin bursts into a portrait of a symphonic chorus, and I am, as I apparently lied, speechless. There are few things quite as genuinely, glowingly warm as the initial stages of a sunset, especially if that sun has warmed you glowingly throughout the day. We were the monarchs of our own history and felt triumphant in our skins. The evening bode nothing but pleasure and pleasantries. Humility sat quietly amongst us, and the crickets shushed themselves to quiet. Even when the rain started to pitter-patter down, my strongest emotion was one of pleasant surprise, no less joyous for that. We laughed as if we were the original unstoppered barrels of fun and embraced each other in the soothing cascade, our faces turned to the reddening sky. We had been in this region for what seemed a lifetime or so, about 3 weeks in all, so were in some ways accustomed to its ways, yet not knowledgeable enough to know what we should regard as unusual. The sudden splash, for instance, of a fish leaping out of the sea to land slap back in it a moment later was not new to us. What happened next certainly was. Within minutes, this sound became an almost constant drumbeat on the water, while the rain, larger drops now, spattered the sand in percussive thuds or drizzled staccato into the bespeckled sea. Everything accelerated. The once blue, once red sky was definitely black now, and neither clouds nor any inkling of coming night was the cause. We read the initial signals of puzzled alarm in each other's faces and began to gather our things, meaning to head for the protection of the trees. The forest, however, so peaceful earlier, had become a stormy, wind-flashed dance floor of wild, whirling branches, though we neither felt nor heard any wind that could cause such a stir. That came later. If the rain had a voice, it was shouting now. Tsunami? We wondered, letting the question lie silent between us. This, we realised later, was not the case. But if that was a small mercy, then the mercy felt very small indeed. We were no longer feeling like humble monarchs, just humble. We arrived at the bar in the little village nearby where we had drunk beer the day before, less than a half-mile walk from the beach, feeling as bedraggled and storm-tossed as any lost wanderer might be. This time we ordered brandy. The place was, relatively speaking, crowded, and more arrived just after us. No sooner did we ask what was happening than the drone of constant murmuring in the room fell into a thunderous silence, with people either blankly peering at us or pointedly away. None looked at each other. An old man at the corner table raised his head slowly and said simply, "Do not worry," then fell silent again. Only yesterday this tavern was the kind of lovely, lively place that made you consider emigration to whatever country you found it in. Now it was as solemn as a road accident. A woman stepped up slowly, heading toward the window. As she crossed in front of us, she turned her face to us and, without stopping, said, "It will pass. Soon it will pass." The owner of the bar, following a quiet conversation with the woman who had spoken, came over to us and, without prelude, asked, "Where did you sleep last night?" We told him. He said, "Tonight you will stay here." The old man at the table nodded his bowed head and said something I couldn't catch. For a moment he reminded me of a drinker I once saw in a cider pub in Devon, talking to his pint. We felt safe, though we might have preferred to know what from. I ordered 2 more brandies. Lovers may have long remembered names, but here I will not mention that of my ex. She would not appreciate my doing so now. We sat down at an empty table and leaned across it towards each other. I asked, as quietly and nonchalantly as I could manage, "Did you see it? The thing in the sky?" She nodded, almost imperceptibly. "Let's not mention it just yet, eh?" she said, casually glancing round at the other patrons. Why do I now have the feeling that our conversation was overheard by every soul in the place, our tiniest gesture noted by all? Just a touch of hindsight trickery, I suppose. Brandy talking. Names. This is a story. I could give all the characters a name each. It would save us all time on the laborious woman who spoke, owner of the bar, Old man in the corner method I have adopted. But then, what's the rush? They approached our table, the two of them, you know who I mean, and sat down. They spoke alternately. We answered together. Did you notice the aroma of the forest? We nodded. The scent of the sea? Yes. The way the ocean was blue, then green, then blue again? Oh yes. The fish. Did you see the fish? Taste the water on your skin. Did you enjoy your food? The wine? Each time we nodded a yes to each question. Our smiles grew a little wider. They both sat back as if quietly satisfied that they had just confirmed what they had already suspected was the case. She glanced at him, looked back to us, took a deep, seemingly poignant breath and asked, "Did you have a perfect moment?" If you can imagine a volcano erupting as quietly as possible so as not to wake the neighbours, then that was the force, speed and volume of our reply. Not a moment's breath separated us. We spoke as one and were immediately, gleefully and utterly relaxed. Two athletes who lunge full pelt across the finish line and in that act are at once released from all effort. Yes, we did. We could hear the hum of the refrigerator 30 yards away, a low, lowing song. Then the whole congregation began to chatter to each other all around us, loud and louder, a stream of babbling kids in a playground park. Curiosity, as they say, got the better of me. The thing in the sky? I asked. 4 hands were raised in one smooth movement, very akin to Tai Chi, and swished this question aside. A different voice spoke. Remember what the old man said. And everyone began to laugh, including the old man. Back in another land, a year or so later, might even have been an anniversary. I remember everything but the date. We sat down and began the process of what is known as splitting up. Not acrimonious, more a reward of mutual liberty for time we had given each other. We thought of it as recognition. This is why there are no names, no photographs. All things in time, all things in their time. Any and every moment can be a perfect one. You just have to be in the right place, with the right taste, smell, touch, sight and sound, and at the right time. The place is always here. The time is always now. Be here now. Perfect.